10 o'clock. I will call to order the Transportation Committee meeting of June 21st, 2022. We have a roll call, please.
Chaplin. Here. Desart. Here. Krajewski.
Here.
Ozog. Here. Pachalski.
Here.
And Zay.
All right, we have a quorum. I have no chairman's remarks. This will deal with everything under old and new business. We have no public comment. I have a motion to approve the Transportation Committee minutes of June 7th, 2022. I motion in a second. Any changes, alterations, or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is agenda item 6A. Motion to approve 2022-59 and recommendation approval of the contract to 3M Company to furnish and deliver signed material rolled goods as needed, not to exceed $29,900. Motion second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is a motion to approve DTP 020122 recommendation for the approval contract to Traffic Control Corporation for the annual maintenance and support service for the department. It's ATMS software not to exceed $31,257. Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is 6C, which is DTP 0197-22. Recommendation of approval of contract to Rush Truck Centers of Illinois for the purchase of 8 tandem axle 6-wheeler snowplows with snow and ice equipment for a contract not to exceed $2,347,562 monthly. Does anybody have questions? That was a very smart move, Chris. Thank you for being proactive. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is change order 7A. Motion to change order DTR 0191-21 amendment to a resolution issued to K5 Construction for the 2021 maintenance program South program to decrease the funding, resulting in a final county cost of $4,068,290.77, a decrease of 0.63%. Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is 7B, which is change order STV Inc. a contract extension.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is 7C, which is change order Trans Systems Corporation, a contract extension.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is item agenda 8A, awarding resolutions. Motion to DTR 2002-63-22. Amendment to a resolution H&H Electric Company for LED traffic signal head replacement at various locations for a contract cost of $298,659.21, which is a little bit. A motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is agenda item 9A, which is agreements. Motion to approve FMP 0198-22 recommendation to contract to provide elevator and escalator maintenance and repair service, modernization of elevators and escalators for the parking garage and various capital improvements for a cost of $26,091.03. Total cost is $3,424,330.48. Motion second.
Motion second.
No question? Go on.
Okay, I'll ask.
Okay, no, don't break the law.
In Public Works, we approve this as well. So this portion is just for
That's correct.
transportation, and each department is going to affect. Okay, I would, yeah, because when I get on those elevators in the parking garage, it's like taking your life in your hands.
Don't look at me.
They're very sketchy. Okay.
Mary's phone. All right. Well, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, yes, have it. Next is agenda item 10, which is intergovernmental agreements. Motion to DTR 0264-22, a local public agency agreement to County DuPage and Illinois Department of Transportation for central signal system expansion at various locations for a contract not to exceed $2,231,848. Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is 10B, motion to approve DTR 0265-22, an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and Village of Bloomingdale to extend road resurfacing beyond county right-of-way on multiple side streets along Army Trail Road for a contract not to exceed $10,065. Motion second. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Any report from our state's attorney? Okay, Chris. We have a couple matters under
We
old
do.
business. Why don't you take those away?
So the first item, you might recall back, I think it was January or February, in response to some emails that many of you received concerning County Farm Road, just north of here, and the Great Western Trail, and requested the county perform a traffic study to determine whether a traffic signal was warranted. So we didn't do anything, obviously, in winter, so we waited until the first pleasant sequence of days. In April, based on our history. We typically find that on the first nice day of the year, everybody gets on their bikes and gets out of the system and travels. So we did a traffic signal warrant study back in about the April timeframe is when we did the counts. Then we did 3 different weekends, make sure the weather was decent and we could maximize the numbers we saw. Traffic signals are warranted for a number of things: traffic on the main roadway, pedestrian, bike volumes on the cross roadway. Because of the number of lanes, but more important, because of the speed, there is a 70% reduction factor. So if you needed 100 bicyclists under a different road, you only needed 70 in a peak hour, for example, to satisfy the signal warrant. At the end of the day, after looking at the warrants, both the peak hour warrant and the 4-hour warrant, we fell woefully short of warning the traffic signal at that location. We even took into account the nearby intersection on the map. You have an exhibit in front of you. Just south of there, there's a street called Hawthorne. So we kind of treated Great Western and Hawthorne as one intersection, and any pedestrians that were crossing Hawthorne, we too took into consideration. The thought is, if we were going to signalize this, we bring the signal to a common point and take advantage of the roadway network and the bike network. So at this point, the signals aren't warranted. That's the same result from the last study we had done. I think at the committee meeting, we had talked about the fact that a warrant study had been done and not warranted, but COVID really changed people's behavior on the use of the pass system. And so the thought was there might be increased, more intense usage. We did count these on weekends where you're typically going to see more activity. And so where we're at today for that location, it doesn't meet the traffic signal warrant.
All right, thank you.
Chris, did we, I know they're concerned about safety there. I mean, I had asked about maybe, you know, it's kind of a long ways, but take the path to St. Charles and come back the other way, look at that. My other question is, since we did the studies and all that, they do have this new development that's right there on County Farm Road. That's right off of it, those new townhomes that are there next to Klein Creek. We looked at reducing the speed in that area now because there's residential that's extended farther down.
We can always do an updated speed study and evaluate based on crash history, prevailing speeds, and different things. So we can
It's the same because
certainly
it
do
wasn't
that.
there before. I mean, there was a
Right.
big stretch
More
with
of
the
a-
forest preserve on both sides. Now all of a sudden, now you have, this new one with people coming in and out. Maybe it will warrant maybe just reducing the speed limit there in County Farm, maybe to, I don't know, what is it now, 45?
45.
And there was nothing that happened that brought us to this point. It was just brought up that somebody wanted signal lights there, so there was no fatality, there was no answer, no issue or anything.
These cross, both at Hawthorne and at the trail, these are not cross-hatched as pedestrian crossings.
No, they should be. There is, if you flip it over.
Flip it over.
Yeah, if you flip it over, no, the page 2, I'm sorry, there's a street level view.
Okay,
So you
okay.
can see you've got the
So they're
signage
already marked as.
clearly marked, follows manual and uniform traffic control devices.
Yeah.
As Member Zay pointed out, I think at our last meeting, the overhead signing that's there in this picture wasn't always there, but we installed it again, increased visibility of the crossing. It's consistent with what we've done to another crossing to the east. So one of the other items that might have been brought up was the use of what they call the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, those things that the people hit and they rapidly flash. And so those, the state of Illinois finally did a study. There was an unfortunate incident where that was hit. The first car stopped, the second car next to it didn't know why they stopped, and a bicyclist was killed. So IDOT came out with guidance, and this location would not be a recommendation for that treatment either. Sends a false positive.
Right.
You press a button,
Yep.
and the truck next to you stops, and no one knows why.
Right.
Back to your comment, members, we can certainly do a speed study, and we'll do that. And the other thing is, we can look at a realignment. I think given the feedback we've gotten, it makes sense to look at realigning, what it would take to realign the path to St. Charles to a signal crossing, and try to cross them there, and we'll weave it into the fabric, look at those words, weave it into the fabric of the surrounding network, the forest preserve and the parks and stuff like that, see if we can come up with a partnership with the forest
But this is
preserve.
our second study, and both studies have been real clear. There's been no issues, so we were just being proactive, not reactive.
And
Right,
our
on the
staff has
signal
done a
board.
lot. We did put all those new
Yeah.
signs up and
Yeah.
over, I mean, those are pretty recent, like
Yeah,
3-4
relatively
years. I mean, it's,
relatively,
yeah.
No, and I think, like when we did that study with Sid, when we talked about the trails, remember? And I said, just in general, any place where the trail crosses with a main road, it's an issue, like I go to Elmhurst a lot and I see like with their earbuds, they are not paying attention crossing the street. So drivers have to be extra alert, but I think we see it across, and that was like my main concern with the trails in general. We just have, people have to, really drivers, maybe.
No,
pay a little
And
more
they have been
attention.
responsible because we haven't had any issues. Mary?
Right, we haven't had any issues, but just.
Yes, you're right. Mary?
The bike riders also have a stop sign,
Right,
Mhm.
so if they don't pay attention.
they don't pay attention.
At the Prairie Path next to my house. My question though was, what kind of, when you say woefully under the criteria, did you see an increase from the previous study? Still pretty stable in spite of,
So the number that we needed to hit or be near
yeah,
was 93 users in one single hour, any time of the day.
okay,
And the closest we got for 1 hour was 51. Everything after that was, I believe, 40 or under.
okay.
So again, you're half of what you need. It wasn't like it's 85, and absolutely there's engineering judgment and all these decisions. So given the fact that there is no history here, in terms of accidents, the idea of maybe, recognizing the advantage of a signal and see what we can do to get it along St. Charles and cross at that location, and have people, actually go up to St. Charles and come back, and we'll look at that.
And we've done that before with some of our trails.
Yeah, I mean, we got the crossing of Schmale.
Yeah, and
You know,
Schmale too.
Yeah.
And, right, so we redirect them to a signal, so it's a very familiar treatment. Obviously, the plan that Sid is working on, the trails plan, will kind of look at it more holistically at the system, and talk about certain crossings. But this one will look at independent and specific because of obviously the interest.
Listen,
Are there signs on the trail like before the street that says like, intersection ahead or something like use caution or anything
Yeah.
like that on there? We do?
Well, we should, and I see that there are
There's
signs,
stop signs.
Okay.
at the, I can't say what it says.
Oh, I see them on the
approaching
side there.
Got
Okay.
the stop
There's
signs
an
at
actual
County
stop
Farm.
yeah,
Okay.
But we'll,
So yeah.
we
so
we
we're
sign
gonna-
our
we can
trails
do-
as
yeah.
if it's an intersecting roadway.
I think
Great.
the signage has been
Yep, great.
perfect for this.
Yeah,
There's
this
nothing
is
more we
very-
can do.
this is
So it's
great,
hopefully
for
there's an incumbency on the driver
That's
as
right.
well as the trail
That's
user
right.
to follow signs.
But I agree, those flashing lights I think they're dangerous.
They distract you.
I've never seen an accident before, but I've seen, somebody stopped one way, but this driver coming the other way doesn't stop, so it gives the bicyclist or the
Well, you don't know
hiker
what
a
you're
false-
supposed to do. How do you react to it?
Right. So they have their purpose for low-speed two-lane roads, and they're great. But for multi-lane, and you have the ability to be obscured by a stop vehicle. So we'll go ahead and do the speed study, and then we'll do an engineering investigation to look at a potential real line.
And again, there's been nothing there. We're just being proactive. So, it's safe and it's been marked, and I think we've done everything due diligence required. So, all right. We have one
Okay.
other matter under old business.
Yeah, so old business, you remember at the last meeting, I think the day of our meeting, members of Local 150, those that work at the aggregate plants went on strike. And so there's been a lot of hope that it will resolve quickly. They haven't got to the table as often as I think some people had hoped. So as we sit here today, a lot of our projects have really, anything roadway related, we've really reached a point at which we're not working. If we can do signal work, some of our other contracts don't involve the excavation or aggregate asphalt, concrete, or anything like that, then those can move along. So we remain hopeful. I'll continue to update the committee. At some point when this is resolved, we're obviously going to have to look at our active projects to determine what we're going to put a shovel in the ground in and how are we going to get it done before winter, or do we have to make a decision on bringing it to committee to defer? The other thing is to remember, for a strike this long, even if they go back to work tomorrow, they got to rebuild those stockpiles. It's not like you can start getting hot mix and asphalt and concrete the very next day. And so other parts of the region, south of Will County and north of Lake, there are active quarries. So those counties aren't as affected, but DuPage, where we're situated, essentially we're not doing a lot of work right now, but still earlier in the season.
Sorry, Gary?
Are we in week 3?
Let's see, I think this is beginning of week 3. Yeah. Okay,
All right, I think that's it. Now, under new business, we have 2 items.
we have 2 items under new business. So the first one is the Illinois Prairie Path Corporation. So we have a longstanding relationship with an entity called the Illinois Prairie Path Corporation. And when the Illinois Prairie Path went from rails to trails, this group of volunteers, helped transition from the rails to the trails. And for years, had a responsibility to kind of assist the county with maintaining the trail in its natural setting and encouraging recreational usage and advocacy. And back in the 80s, it became too big for them. Okay, too big, and they were concerned about liability to maintain this. So at that point, we entered into agreement with them, meaning DuPage County and Prairie Path Corporation, that they would continue to serve as an advocate, as a steward, an advisory, kind of a consultation to DuPage County, but we would own, operate, and maintain the path system. One of the things those agreements allowed was that they would be able to implement improvements to the system under permit. Mile markers, benches, kiosks, okay, to kind of tell people when you're on the path what's out there, memorials. They did some natural habitat areas with plantings. They also bring together volunteers for the annual trail cleanup and things like that. And that was a 3 or 5 year agreement. And then over time, it's been extended. And under the most recent extension, the last agreement actually was set to expire. It did expire in May of 2021. So back in 2019, we began having a dialogue with the Prairie Path Corporation. One of the concerns they raised was the liability of a difference of opinion in terms of the amenities that they've installed over the years, the benches, the kiosks that they've allowed the Boy Scouts to install, and different things like that they actually own. Everything had to be installed via permit. And the permit is very clear that when you install it, it's yours. And so we reached kind of an impasse. And so the agreement no longer exists between us and them. And so we've talked internally about where we want to go from here. We do believe that the Illinois Prairie Path Corporation, in their advocacy role and their stewardship, continues to have an important role for DuPage County. But we understand their concerns for the 20 benches that have been installed and the 30 mile marker signs and different things like that, we've done an inventory. Sid and his team. It would be our recommendation to do a new agreement, because there is no agreement now, do agreement with them in which DuPage County would absorb those amenities that have been installed. We would own, operate, maintain them. They would continue to serve on a consultant type basis to us, advocacy, encourage volunteer groups. There's, I think, 7 to 10 planted areas, native areas that they continue to be responsible for. We'll take care of the hardware, they'll take care of the software, so to speak. And that would be our recommendation to this committee. It's very much aligned with our trails plan as we look to make our system unified and branding. This will give us the chance to kind of take back some of, do things in a way that we now can have control over how we want our markers to look, what they want to say, how the signing will be more along the line of the trails plan goals, and still work with the Prairie Path. I think there's some memorials and things in memory of, that are out there that we'll want to make sure that if there's something that has to be done because they've fallen out of repair, that we work closely with the IPPC and find a way to memorialize some of those people that were key in the evolution and growth of the Prairie Path.
Is there an extra cost to the extra responsibility?
It's nominal. It's nominal. I mean, we're gonna have trash cans that we're gonna have to maintain. Repair benches.
Doggy, do you have doggy stations out there? No.
I guess not. I don't have a dog, but things like that. That's gonna be come out of the trails plan. So we'll be able to look at this in a whole different light and maybe have a little more, not control, but engagement, more so than just what the Prairie Path Corporation did.
Mary?
In the past month or so, I've heard from 2 of their members,
Okay.
and I am delighted to hear the solution because
That makes
they
sense.
cannot afford to.
No, you're right. Exactly.
They can't afford to have any kind of liability insurance, et
Well,
cetera.
and it's gonna be our liability anyway, so we should be proactive in taking care of it. So if something needs to be replaced or repaired, we do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think this is just a
No, I think it's
wonderful.
good, it's good government.
But they continue to exist and provide things like the April cleanup
Yep.
and
Yeah.
their advocacy, because without them 50, 60 years ago, there'd be no Prairie Path. We're one of
Well,
the
the
first trails.
volunteers
in
are
the
what's the
country.
key, it's not
Yep.
Yeah.
benches, and the little
So-
bit of cost it's gonna be will be a few thousand, it's not gonna be a huge expense.
No, this is delightful.
Great.
So,
So we will communicate back to them and we'll begin the process of drafting an agreement with them based on this direction. And we'll obviously come to the committee board. Then, whoo,
keep it
one
coming.
one more item under new business before we go into exec session. So really quick under new business. So 75th Street in the Darien area, we recently did a project out there. It was a safety improvement. We improved a number of the intersections. We also constructed a new bike path. As part of that project, it's one of the rare instances where it's through the stormwater permitting, we were required to implement these best management practice water quality improvements. Normally for our project with narrow rights of way, very limited areas to do anything, we typically do a fee in lieu of. So we buy into a restoration bank that stormwater will implement over time. But because the right of way on 75th Street is so wide, 200 feet, we actually had the opportunity to do something unique in our parkway. And so we did it. It has not been as successful as we would have liked. It was throw some seed down, the right seed, but it's going to take years for it to mature and to become anything other than, quite frankly, it's unsightly. It's an eyesore now. And it's in front of a commercial area. So talking to the city of Darien, talking to Member Pachowski, what I'd like to bring forward and request is I talked to Stormwater Management. One of the things we can accelerate this and bring it to a more favorable appearance would be to actually, instead of planting seeds, to actually do bulbs or plugs. Put the plugs in, rework the area, a specific area, rework it, put the plugs in, and you're going to see it an acceleration of how quickly it's going to turn into, and some of these nice, beautiful gardens that I've got from Stormwater Management on what Parkway can look like. And so
The before and after, is that what we're gonna call it?
no, they're both the after. It's just how much pollinators, and we can do all sorts of fun things. So to the extent that the committee supports that, it's probably going to be a cost of about $25,000. It's outside of my spending authority, but if you can allow me to spend up to that working with Stormwater Management, they've got a consultant on hand. They'll do the management, the maintenance, then invoice the county. I think it'll be kind of a nice asset to 75th Street and kind of a gateway to Darien, if that's.
I think it's a good idea, and it's gonna be an issue that, I'm glad that you guys had the foresight to say, yeah, this isn't what we would like, we'd like to do something better, so I think it enhances it, so I think it would be great to Gary.
When this is more mature, are we talking very low maintenance type of?
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some associated maintenance with, and that's something we can work with Darien. Right now, they maintain our rights of way in their community mowing and stuff like that. So if we do this, I know their director of public works really well, can maybe talk about, maybe they can assist with some of the maintenance, but to get it established.
Perennial, not a formal.
Correct.
Flowers
This is all
planted
gonna be
every year.
native. It'll come up regardless of whether we do anything or not, unless it's my house and I have to maintain.
And
Unless it's mine, I
this
do
is
have to do
something you
stuff.
discussed with stormwater,
Yep.
they believe it's an eyesore as well,
Yep.
and I like the fact that we have been, kind of proactive and saying, hey, this doesn't look right, and we can make it better, so.
What's nice is this will kind of be the first opportunity of where we do something on rights rather than turf. There's
Yes.
so much of that in some of our
Right.
community meetings.
Yeah, I like this better, but can we show stormwater data? I mean, the stuff that's there now, I mean, we shouldn't be recommending that unless it's just a one-off.
They're part of the process.
Yeah, they've been part of,
Yes.
we've been out
I
there.
know,
with
I'm
it.
just saying about the stuff we put the first time down.
Right.
Was part of the stormwater management, which that
also-
probably shouldn't be part of stormwater because it looks like crap.
Yeah, well, it's also an IDOT seed mix, so it's an IDOT standard. And I think what we've learned from this is if you're gonna broadcast it just with seed and it's somewhere, off the right of way, it might work. But in this instance, I think it's better that it's a commercial area, well established, that we go with the
So I'm
plugs
just saying in
now.
the future, we
Yeah.
shouldn't even be using that IDOT, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a lesson kind of learned from us. This is our first foray into it.
And I'm glad that we acknowledge it, it's an eyesore and needs to be replaced, even though I am, is it you? Another thing for you?
My
So-
district. Thank you, Chris.
So I guess the answer is yes, you have.
Ryan Krajewski Memorial Garden?
Yeah.
Ah,
Nothing to do.
All right.
Okay.
I don't think you want memorial.
No, I guess he's still with us.
Just get Home Depot to use someone else and put it out there.
There you go. Got a supply chain right there.
Water it though, this weather.
So,
Here you go.
All right.
Home Depot.
okay, that's,
All right.
All right, anybody have anything else under new business?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Chris and his team for the forethought, to order those snowplows. I think it's good on you to be so forward thinking. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm looking at how it stays with you.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
All
Thanks, Snow.
Snowplows.
right, we do have executive session, so pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/2C6, I need to go to open closed session for setting a price and purchase of real property.
Section 5.
Oh, man. do we do it?
Yeah, what's in this? Yeah, I think it's. Oh, okay.
Oh,
You still going in?
Yeah, it was changed.
It's changed online.
I just read what's in
Yeah,
front
so
of
it's
me.
not on
You got
Friday.
it.
They fixed it early.
All right, I have a roll call.
Oh, they- Yes.
Teresa, there's nobody from the consultant on. Actually, I have the online.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. I checked, it was posted on Friday.
Chaplin,
Here.
Desart,
Here.
Krajewski,
Here,
Ozog.
Here.
Kachasky.
Here.
Zay. Krajewski,
here.
Ozog.
Here.
Kachasky.
Here.
Zay.
Now we're done.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to, without objection, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Here is